Welcome back to This Week on Channel 9. I'm your host, Christina Warren, Senior Cloud Developer Advocate, and this is our last episode of TWC9 for 2017. We'll be back in some form in 2018, but until then, let's enjoy some final stories to help us carry it into the new year. First up, Windows Insiders got an early holiday surprise with the Windows 10 Insider Preview build 17063 for PC. Now, this is a big one, and it's for the Windows Insiders on the fast ring and those that want to skip ahead. Now, I've seen lots of reports on Twitter that this makes some big changes, and this is indeed the definition of insider. So make sure you're not using this on a production system. That said, there is some awesome stuff in this build. The biggest being the new timeline feature. Now, if you haven't heard about timeline, basically, you know it can be difficult when you want to go back in time to stuff you were working on in the past. And if you're like me, sometimes you forget which site or app you were using and where you saved a file. Now you can finally close apps without worrying. With timeline, you can get right back to where you left off. And it introduces a new way to resume past activities you started on one PC, another Windows PC, or even your iOS or Android device. Timeline enhances Task View, allowing you to switch between currently running apps and past activities. So be sure to check this out if you're a Windows Insider. Speaking of Timeline, if you're a dev and you want to know more about how you can have your applications engage with the Windows Timeline, check out this post and accompanying Connect session from Shawn because it can be kind of complicated to get stuff set up. In the article and Connect session, you'll learn how to drive application re-engagement by writing great user activities into the Microsoft Graph with their UWP applications. By writing user activities into the Microsoft Graph, you can express specific content within your app as a destination, which is showcased in Windows and accessible on your iOS and Android devices. Now, that's awesome stuff, so be sure to check out that session and the accompanying blog post. Now, quantum computing was a big part of Microsoft's Ignite conference earlier this fall, but if you want to learn more about how to program for a quantum computer, you might be a little confused. I mean, I know I would be, especially about how to get started. Fortunately, the AI team has you covered. Microsoft, that's us, is releasing a free preview version of its quantum development kit, which includes the Q# programming language, a quantum computing simulator, and other resources for people who want to get started writing applications for a quantum computer. Now, the Q# programming language was built from the ground up specifically for quantum computing. It's deeply integrated into Visual Studio, Microsoft's suite of developer tools, so aspects of it will be familiar to people who are already developing applications in other programming languages. And it's designed to work with a local quantum simulator, also released as part of the kit, that can simulate around 30 logical qubits of quantum computing power using a typical laptop computer. So this will allow developers to debug quantum code and test programs on small instances right on their own computers, which is great because not everybody has a quantum computer. I mean, I don't really think anybody does, except for in the cloud. Along with the kit, Microsoft is also making a comprehensive suite of documentation, libraries, and sample programs available. That'll give people the background they need to start playing around with the aspects of computing that are unique to quantum systems, such as quantum teleportation. I hope that quantum teleportation is like Quantum Leap. You remember the 80s show, Scott Bakula? If you want to learn more about how to get started with this kit, check out the blog post from Allison Linn in our description. All right, it's bot time. Bots were a huge part of 2017. Actually, they're a big part of 2016 too, and a little bit of 2015, but they're poised to be even bigger in 2018. Still, one of the problems we face with bots is how to make them, well, not sound like bots. I mean, Smarter Child was awesome in the aughts, RIP AIM, but I want my bot to pass the Turing test, darn it. That's why it's awesome that both the Azure Bot Service and the Language Understanding, aka LUIS, are now generally available. These tools help developers create customized, natural interactions on any platform for any type of application, including bots. Making these two services generally available on Azure simultaneously extends the capabilities of developers to build custom models that can naturally interpret the intentions of people conversing with bots. This announcement delivers on Microsoft's AI platform approach, providing developers and data scientists with all the tools they need to create AI applications in the cloud and on mobile devices. In November at Connect 2017, Microsoft released tools to infuse AI into new and existing applications quickly and easily with updates to the Azure machine learning, including the Azure IoT Edge integration, as well as new Visual Studio tools for AI. Check out the blog post from Lili Cheng and the video introducing the services from Sonya Koptyev on Channel 9. now that it's the end of the year, is upon us, it's time to kick back, relax, and catch up on some old Channel 9 content you might not have had a chance to get to while you were working. Now, some people might say that binge watching Channel 9 content isn't as fun as rewatching The Office on Netflix, but those people are wrong. Frankly, you should spend all of your time rewatching stuff on Channel 9. Also, did you know we're on YouTube now? So you should watch us on YouTube. You should watch us everywhere. Just watch Channel 9. But the main thing we kind of want to highlight is the new ifdef Windows show. So you can join Nicola as he interviews engineers working on the Windows platform. So you can learn why and how features and APIs are built, what goes into building Windows, and ultimately, how to become a better Windows developer, which is so cool. So check out ifdef Windows. All right, HoloLens fans, this one is for you. Now, over the past 6 months, Brian and I have talked a lot about all the places HoloLens is useful, and that's like basically everywhere. But one of the areas that's definitely useful is the construction and building space, because you can use, the reality stuff to kind of see where things go. But if you're in those places, it's not always conducive to like be in a live building environment with a 3D computer strapped to your face. Because what if stuff is coming at you from the top and you can't see it? You need a hard hat, right? So fortunately, there is now a HoloLens Hardhat Kit hat, and it's now available. This is not a first-party solution. It's from the geographic information system provider Memum, but it's generally available, and it's only $95, and it fits most standard hard hats. I will say this: if you use or see one of these setups in the wild, please email me or tweet me at FilmGirl so that we can show this stuff off. That's film_girl on Twitter, because it's so cool and I want to see it. Like, I want to see people with hard hats and HoloLenses. Now, this one might be cutting a little bit close, this next story, because Christmas is just 4 days away, 3 at the time of this broadcast. But if you're looking for some last-minute inspiration for the free software lover in your life, the Free Software Foundation has some options that combine open source software, street cred, with supporting open source and the GNU philosophy. If you feel weird about getting stuff that will arrive after the holiday, well, you can always get a head start on next year. Or even better, make a donation in the nerd in your life's name to the Free Software Foundation. Side note, and I have to say this, if you'd asked 2007 Christina if she would be working at Microsoft, making a video where she talks about giving money to the FSF, she would have told you that you were crazy. Life is strange and awesome. And our final nerdy cool story of 2017, I love this story. We want to highlight Ken Shirriff, who documented how he created a Christmas card on the vintage IBM 1401 mainframe. Now, as Ken describes on his blog, the IBM 1401 computer was a low-end business mainframe that was announced in 1959, and it went on to become the most popular computer of the mid-1960s with more than 10,000 systems in use. Now, that's a lot of systems for the mid-1960s. Now, the 1401's rental price started at $2,500 a month, so that's $20,000 in today's dollars. But that was a low price that made it possible for even medium-sized businesses to have a computer for payroll or accounting or inventory or many other tasks. And although the 1401 was an early all-transistorized computer, they weren't silicon transistors. The 1401 used germanium transistors, which is the technology before silicon. It used magnetic core memory for storage, and it holds 16,000 characters. Not sure how many bytes that is, because I can't do that math that quickly, but not a lot of memory. Cool, but Ken documents how he created a card and programmed the output successfully. It's incredibly cool. If you happen to have a spare 1401 lying around your house, and who doesn't, Ken's even put the files on GitHub so you can modify it with your own season's greetings message. I would also like to give a recommendation for anyone who loves retro computer stuff. The Internet Archive and there's also a Computer Chronicles channel on YouTube have every episode of the PBS staple, the Computer Chronicles, available for viewing. I had the flu last week, and I'm completely serious, no joke, when I say that the moment I was not asleep, I was binge watching old Computer Chronicles stuff from the early 80s, and I was nerding out over the early stages of the microprocessor age that existed before or just as I was born. Side note, there's also a really great documentary on Netflix called Silicon Cowboys about the early rise of Compaq and the IBM clones. Definitely worth checking out. But anyway, I want to thank Ken for doing something cool with old tech and using a mainframe in a really cool way. And now it's time for our final pick of the week for 2017. And honestly, this was the easiest pick I've ever had. This pick isn't a site or a tool, but a person, Greg Duncan. For the last 6 years, Greg has worked with us at Channel 9 on creating show content, hosting shows, and keeping things up and running. He's also been responsible for finding the stories we pick from each week on This Week on Channel 9, creating the slides, and making the show description pages awesome. I know that for me, the newest member of the Channel 9 crew, Greg has been an invaluable resource. Now, Greg is moving on, but we want to thank him for his hard work and help over the years. Fortunately, Greg is an MVP, so we'll still see him around, but from everyone in the Channel 9 family, past and present, Greg, thank you so much. This does it for this week's episode of This Week on Channel 9. This was a new format. We want to hear what you guys think. Let us know in the comments. If you like this style, if you like the conversations we've done before, we really want to get your feedback so we can make this show as good as possible. Until 2018, have a happy holiday season and a happy new year. We will see you later.